Well, Yerushalmi you won't be able to learn from her. Only Yerushalmi is male province. All right, we are on the beginning of the second parak. This is how we stay ahead of the women. The second parak, Ches on base. This is actually very easy Gemara tonight by Yerushalmi standards. A woman who was widowed or she's garsha or divorced, and now she claims her ksuva. She says, I was married a virgin, and therefore it comes to I should be getting $200. I married you a widow, and therefore you only get $100. If there are witnesses that she went out with a veil, and her head was revealed when she got married, the Kesuvos Masayim, then her ksuva is $200. It's also proof if they distributed candy, literally kleos are little toasted pieces of grain, at her wedding, because that's the customarily used to do for the basulos at the time they get married. I understand these garsho that if she gets divorced, so her husband is bickering with her. It's not an amicable divorce. So he wants to give her less and she wants to get more. So therefore they're fighting, right? If she's widowed, so who's complaining? He kicked the bucket. He's not around to complain anymore, right? So it says the heirs are complaining. It says why don't you follow the majority? And most women who are married virgins, the good old days. So therefore, she should get $200. He says, let's say she was married a virgin, she gets $200. Zosamaris teaches us now the next word is superfluous, it's really interpretation. They didn't go in terms of midas adin, the letter of law, which is lemamon acharov. There's a principle in the Bavli too. We don't follow, in monetary matters, you don't follow majorities. You have to have definite evidence, and it must be something more than a majority. Even if the majority of women get married when they're virgins, it's not sufficient. You actually have to have witnesses or some sort of evidence to that effect. It's interesting. There's somebody who wrote a whole essay on this. I think we remember. I don't know where it is. I don't remember where it is. That wherever you have the word midas adin in the Yerushalmi, it means for dinim mominus. Okay, midas adin, the Bavli means the measure of how the attribute of God's justice. But in the Yerushalmi, midas adin means dinim mominus. Now, what? Monetary law. Okay. Talmud, we learned over there. Shorsh nagas apara, a ox which gores a cow. And you find its fetus next to it. Over there it says, although Gemara here is shorthand, the Gemara Baba Kama says that you pay half of the value of the ox, your half the value of the cow, and a quarter of the value of the calf, or the fetus, because you don't know if it was a spontaneous miscarriage or miscarriage as a result of the episode of the goring. Okay, you know that the cow was killed by the goring, but you don't know that the calf, the fetus, is killed by the goring. So for the mother, you pay half, because that's what you always pay where there's no precedent, no prior incident. That's you pay in a case of a goring. For the calf, you pay half. Okay, a quarter. So v'chiro aparsman pilos. So there, why don't we go out to majority? Majority of cows don't miscarry, so therefore assume it's not a miscarriage, and therefore have the owner of the ox pay a full half also on the fetus. So actually, it's part of the question. Let's say that's because of the goring that the miscarriage took place, not that it was a spontaneous miscarriage. This too, Zosamersa teaches us, meaning they didn't follow in matters of court cases, i.e. monetary law, acharov after majority. Rabbi Yavun said, one area, Hochel Midas Adin, Ulamam and Achro, they follow Midas Adin, and in monetary matters, the majority. What's that case? The other title we learned over there, Rabbi Yachod says, if you had a camel which was standing among other camels and was roaring, was behaving in a wild fashion, so that's the case. If one of the camels was found dead there in that vicinity, Chayev, the owner of the roaring camel, is Chayev. Ani Omer, I saw also Shoya Ocher, the one who was roaring and acting wild, Nishacho, he must have bit the other camel to death. So in fact, what this comes out here is interesting, that there is a certain robe which works by Didi Moment. I think the robe which we're talking about is a robe which is a naturally occurring robe, a robe beteva we call it in the law. It means that a robe which is just incidental, based on a number of cases which occur, that we do not rely on when it comes to monetary matters. But a robe which happens naturally, which is the very nature of camels, that if one of them becomes wild, so it starts killing, thrashing out and killing other camels. So that kind of robe we do follow by dinim mamas. Okay? So that's one where we do follow by dinim mamas. He has to pay. Now, period. Tana mana, the kafarbo. If somebody claims against his friend $100, and the other guy denies the claim, now, the guy who claimed $100 brings witnesses not on the whole $100 that he doesn't have, but he has witnesses on 50. Okay, so what's the status? Now, this is a very interesting question. Normally, I don't recall from the Bali, but it seems like it's there too. But normally, you only make a shvuah, you only take an oath if you're moed b'mikvas. If you make a partial admission to what was being claimed against you, right? So let's say if I claim against you $100 and you say, well, I only owe you 50. So then you have to take an oath on the additional 50 that you don't owe. If I deny everything, if you claim $100 and I deny, I say it's a lie, absolutely untrue, so then in that case I don't have to take an oath. I'm not required. The Torah doesn't require me. The rabbis might require me, but not the Torah itself. Okay? So it says more over here, Tanamana, what if I claimed $100 against you? The cover you denied it, but then I brought witnesses. That you owe me $50. In other words, you didn't concede, so it's not a classic motive in mikvas, because you didn't concede that you owe me $50, but the witnesses testify that you owe me $50. Okay, so so if that's the case, what's the status in this case? Does he take a shvuah or not? So it's machlokas. He claimed against him $100 and he denied it. And he brought witnesses that the guy owes him $50. Now, Rechia the great Omer says, Nishba al-Shar Shvuah is necessary, he must take an oath on the rest, so he doesn't owe the rest. So it's mamish like moed miktas. So basically, the two ways to reach moed miktas according to Rechia, either by his own confession or by Adam coming and saying that you owe that money. Either one of them will make him required to take an oath in that situation. Rabbi Yochanan says, Eino nishba al ashar. There's no case where he takes an oath on anything else, on the rest of it. Mishnayim ochsim betalis, and we learn that out from two people holding on to a talis. I'm sorry. Period. That's the end of it. Al-Shar doesn't take an oath on the rest of it. Now, Mishnayim Osim period. Now, there's the period supposed to go. Mishnayim Osim Tal Slamed Rabbi Chia Rabba. Rabbi Chia Rabba, the great, learned his halacha from two people holding on to a talis. The same time we learned over there, Mishnayim Osim Talis, two people holding to a talis. Zomer Animatzasir, this one says, I found it. Vizelmer Animatzasir, this guy says, I found it. Zesh Tobi Suchetzer, he was grabbing onto it. Maybe Adam Suchetzer Shlotzes, if he has witnesses that have is his. Balomer Kula Shali, and the other guy says at the same time that it's all mine, right? So it's obviously a clash. Each guy's claiming a full talis, and the other guy's responding in essence that the half he's holding on to is his, so it's like Moedim Miktsas, right? It would seem to be a case like Moedim Miktsas. And similarly, the other guy. The other guy says, the other guy is on the other half. If he's bringing witnesses that half is his. The other guy says, it's all completely mine. Nishba, in both these cases, they both take oaths, and it should be, instead of she'ein kula, it should be shechetzia shelo. Each one takes oath that he owns half part of it, and they get to keep the half upon which they take the shvua. Okay? So it says the Gemara, this is a kasha, right? Because we see over here, in this case, that if you have one second.
It seems like holding on to half of it is like bringing witnesses.
Right. Well, not only bringing witnesses, but it means if you have witnesses that half of it is yours, or you have tfiso, which is like witnesses, so it requires you to take a shvua d'oraisa. That's what we're saying over there. In other words, over there, despite the fact that each one is only saying, I say kula shali, and you respond and say, well, it's not, it's kula shali. But in essence, says Gemara, since you're only holding on to half, it's as if there's testimony that you own half, not the whole thing. So therefore, it's not kofar out. The first Gemara says it's not kofar kol, it's not a complete denial. So therefore, it's not a complete denial, right? So therefore, it's more than me. Even though he seems to deny completely, but since he's more than me, says by dint of the other person holding on to half of the dollars, so therefore he has to take a shvua d'oraisa. That's why he has to take a shvua d'oraisa.
Does the Bavli have that same analogy with Shimon Christopher Thomas?
I don't remember. I think it has a similar thing, but I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but let's see it. So anyway, so he says, so it sounds like it's shvua d'oraisa, despite the fact that each person only is moda by virtue of the fact that the other guy's holding on to it, which is an indirect chodah at best. So it says the Gemara, below Shmiya the Rabbi Ilu b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, he didn't hear at all. He had Rabbi Ilu say name Rabbi Yochanan, takona shvuahi. There, by the two guys who went into the tower, it's not a shvua d'oraisa, it's a shvua d'rabbanan. Just a shvua takona. Shloi ha'adam roes chavei b'shuk, person not see his friend in the marketplace. Vayam l'on say to him, talis shalech o shalihu. Your talis, it's mine. Do me a favor, divide the talis in half with me. Now, of course, he doesn't own any of it, so therefore he made the kono shvua in order that one shouldn't come to have to undergo such litigation. Okay? Rabbi Avi Mishem Rav said, Moda Chavivi, my uncle admits, Bishtar, that in other words, there. In a case where instead of witnesses that he owes 50, there's only a shtar that he owes 50, that's not called Moedim Miktas. Okay, hey Chavita, what are we talking about here? Talking about where he claimed $100. The other guy denied it, when he took out the argument, says that he only owes 50. In that case, Yitak only pays 50, and the main point is without a shvua. And the reason why this is so, although the word doesn't discuss explicitly, is because there's no requirement of shvua when we're dealing with shibu karkos. At least that's the way we understand it at this point. When dealing with the lien placed on land, there's no shvua. Zogzeres achosuv. The Torah itself, there's no shvua when dealing with real estate. It's only shvua when you're dealing with movable objects, not with real estate. So, since that is the case, so therefore, if I have a document which I claim I owe you $100, right, and you have witnesses that it's not $100, right? That's only 50. What?
Was there a document that he had?
He would start talking about a case of a document. Okay, so I claim I owe you $100. You denied everything. And then I produce a document on 50. The other 50 I can't produce a document on, right? So what's the status? So in that case, I might think that you do make a shvuas moedim miktas, because at least then $50 is conclusive evidence against you. So if it's telling us that you can't make a shvua on the $50, because we said that anytime there's a shtar involved, you can't make a shvua on the issue of the shtar, because the shtar entails a lien on land, and on land you don't make a shvua, you only make a shvua on pure and free metaltlin. Okay? Vam Ravasi says, Avam Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Boon. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Boon says, Nishmina me'adol. Learn from here. Kesaf silin. It says that you write in your ksuva. Let's say this is actually a proof against. It's a proof that there is actually a shvua by shibu karkos. That you take an oath by shibu karkos. What's the proof? It says in the ksuva kesaf silin X amount of money, the inum, which is blank. And the amount of money which is supposed to be is erased. Ein pos mishnayim. It can't be less than 2, because it's seal in, which is plural. Mikan ve'elch, from above 2. Hamal v'merchamesh. Let's take a case like this. This is not just a ksuva, but also a bill of loan. Hamal v'merchamesh. The owner said, the lender says that it was $5. V'aloy and the borrower says, here it says sholosh, but let's say, like Ridbaz, shtayim, $2. So Benazir says, hoil v'hoidem mina taina, yishava. Since the guy conceded part of the taina by saying he was part of the sum involved, right? Because he was paying 5 and he conceded 2. So hoil v'hoidem mina taina, yishava, it has to take a shvua. The Chachamim say, ein hodah mina taina. The Odah is not part and parcel of the taina, or it's not, the confession is not truly a part and parcel of the taina. Now, why is that important to us? Because in order to say moedim miktas, I have to be able to concede I'm part of the thing upon which I took the shvua. Right? If it's not part of the thing on which I took the shvua, there's no moedim miktas. So let's take the case as Ridbaz corrected. We're talking about a case here, I claimed you 5, right? You only conceded 2. But the key element here is that there's a document here which says 2, or it doesn't say 2. It says Sloim Dinarim, X amount of money, and the amount is ripped off. So in that case, 2 could actually be the sum total of the document, right? Because Sloim Dinarim is plural, right? So it has to be double, but it can be one single document, right? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, your minimum amount is 2.
Right. So it's one thing. So since that's the case, that's not up for discussion. The 2 is like water under the bridge. As far as the additional 3 is concerned, he didn't make any confession at all. He made a confession about the 2, but the 2 is water under the bridge because there's a document about it. It's a given. So on the rest of it, he's a kofer hakol. That's Rabbanon's svara. Ula says, is it Ula? Benazai, right? Benazai says, Benazai says that it is moedim miktas, even 2 out of 5, because you conceded part of what you were claiming, and that's moedim miktas, right? Rabbanon say moedim miktas is when they're on an issue at question, you concede part of it. Not if you concede part of an issue not at question. Okay? So that's really what they say over here. So he says, again, taken from the top of the case, Ksaf Nishmina Minador, top line here, you should have here from this case, and this is a raya that you take a shvua despite the fact that there's a shtar involved. We don't say shibu karkos, the lien on the real estate bars the shvua. You have a certain amount of money, the amount is praised. Ambush time can't be less than 2. If subsequently that, the Malva says was 5, the lender says it's 5, and the borrower says that Shnayim, like the Ridbaz, it's 2. Benazir says, Hoil Hoda Minataina. As he confessed to a part of the taina, because he was taina 5 and he conceded 2, Yerushalmi has to take a shvuah. The confession is not on the claim. Why is that? Oh, well, I explain why. Actually, or it doesn't explain why. It's not on the taina because the 2 is water under the bridge, and vis-a-vis the 3, he doesn't concede anything. Now that's the end of the brisa. Now the Gemara says, the only reason why there's no shvuah here is because, according to Chachamim, the 2 was not part of the issue because that was agreed, right? That was stipulated. Sounds like that if the odoa was part of the taina, in other words, if you confessed to in fact 3 instead of 2, so then in that case, he'd have to take a shvuah. So ask the Gemara, says the Gemara, in our case, if that's the case over here, by Kesuva, she says 200, he says 100, right? Yeah, but here though, is minat taina. Why is it minat taina? No. Here it's minat taina. Took me a while to figure this out. Here it's minat taina though. Here it's part and parcel of it's part and parcel of the claim. It's not water under the bridge. You know why? You know why the 100's not water under the bridge? The first 100, she claims 200, right? He wants to pay 100. Why is it 100 on water on the bridge? They both conceded. I'll tell you why. Tell me about. Why is that water on the bridge? They both conceded. Right, so it's really water on the bridge? No, because they lost the ksuva. They lost the ksuva. That's the whole point here. Either they lost the ksuva, it's a place where they don't write a ksuva. So that's why it's not water on the bridge. So whatever he concedes actually becomes the word of the miktas. Okay? So that's what he's saying. So here everybody agrees that he right. So the shaila is, why does he not take a shvuah? Before we said you don't take a shvuah, he doesn't take a shvuah because it's shibur karkos, because the lien of the document, because the document which is a lien on the land. And that's true even if you lost the ksuba, because the ksuba is still a lien on the land, whether it's present and accounted for or not. But we just proved over there from the case of 5 and 2 that you take a shvuah even when there's land involved, right? So if that's the case, so the kasha comes back. Over here in our mission, why is there no shvuah? She's got to bring evidence in order to get her $200. Why is it just enough that she should have to take a shvuah? And don't tell me here that the reason why he shouldn't have to take a shvuah is because the odah is not min hataino, because confession is not in the area under dispute, because here, since they lost the ksuva, the whole thing is in play, right? Everything is the area under dispute. The Gemara is going to reject that, though.
Don't we assume that she wouldn't have gotten married without some kind of ksuva?
Yeah, but she wants the whole $200.
All right, but then it would still be a ksuva of a minimum of 100. Would she really have gotten married?
That's wait. That's Gemara answers. Just a second. Says Gemara, no. You can't say that, says Gemara, because everybody agrees that he owes her $100. He agrees, she agrees, everybody agrees. She wants another $100, the Basula's $100. And that he doesn't concede to her, and that's the only $100 which is in play, which is really what you're trying to say. And therefore he would say, I might love a raya. That's where she has to bring the proof. In other words, we thought that the only thing that could take the first $100 out of play is if there's a star on them, or maybe Adim, like we said in Amud Aleph, right? That Adim or star can take them out of play. And then the question is, if there's odah min hataina on the second $100 or not. That was our premise, right? But that's disproved because we simply that was our premise, and then we tried to disprove it and said we do disprove it. We disprove and say the only time that it's considered out of play is if it's not a subject under dispute. But here it's a subject under dispute, so then it's considered to be in play, the opposite. I have the structure of the Gemara mixed up. The Gemara asks the question, how come, let me just go through the structure from the beginning to the end very quickly. The Gemara asks the question, how come here you don't say Moed B'Miktzas, right? It should be Moed B'Miktzas. And the way the Gemara chooses that question is by really roundabout. It said about Bata Machlokes from Chia and his nephew Rav. By a case where the witnesses, I claim against you 100, and you don't concede anything, but witnesses come and say, indeed you owe me 50, right? So then we had a machlokes, so that's Moed B'Miktzas or not, right? But then the question was, okay, well, what about by shtar? Would Rabbi Chia say there? So Rav would say, even Rabbi Chia, my uncle, would say it's not Moed B'Miktzas if there's a shtar, right? Because then it would be a shvur on karkos, on land lien, and there's no shvur on karkos. The Gemara disproved that. The Gemara said there is shvur on land lien because we see from the case of 5 and 2 that theoretically there'd be a shvur there on land lien, if not for the fact that he did not concede about something which was in play. He only conceded about the $2 which everybody agrees about, right? So then the Gemara said, okay, so what about over here? Here we're talking about where she lost the ksuba. Even though there's shibuk karkos, the whole $200 should be considered in play because she doesn't have a document on that, and therefore it should be Moed B'Miktzas. And if he concedes $100, should be Moed B'Miktzas, and he should have to take a shvur. So that the Gemara says no. Here also, the first $100 is not in play because everybody agrees on the first $100. Vis-a-vis the second $100, there's no Moed B'Miktzas, and therefore there's no need to take a shvur over here. That's a more discussion back and forth. Okay, says more for the next sugya.
How do we mix the? We never resolved the question about shibud karkos.
We just proved that it's not an issue. So it must be that even though shtar does create shibud karkos, that's peripheral to the actual testimony of the shtar, and that's why you would have to make possibly a shvur, despite the fact there was a shtar involved.
So you do make a shvur.
Yes, that's what he proved. That's what they proved from the case of Ben Hazai.
Likewise, in the case where the Moed B'Miktzas has Edom, he takes a shvur as well. We resolve that.
We never resolved it 100%, but it sounds because it's machlokas. But so we discussed according to the opinion that Edom do create Moed B'Miktzas, but we didn't resolve what the actual halacha is in that case.
And that scenario was not in the Bible.
I don't remember it from being there. No, I don't think so. Okay. Boy, we're such bekim. Okay, it says more further. B'numa. She goes out with a veil. What's a b'numa? This machlok is in the Bavli. Tama, we learned over there, nimnuma, a sleeping tool. Because she falls asleep when she's under a veil, right? Because nobody's paying attention and she's covered, so therefore she falls asleep. Rabbanan Da'acha, the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, that's Tama, and that's in Bavel. Rabbanan Da'acha, the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, I mean pre-mua, and that's like I forget what the name, a wreath. It's a wreath made of adasim, which a kala wears. Okay? Says the Gemara, Yetzav Rosh Parua, if she goes out and her head is uncovered, it's also a sign she was a psula. Rabbi Chia b'Shem Rayon said, you know why kalas at the wedding go out with their head uncovered? Begin elu sheyotzu b'Yom Kippurim, Rosh Hashanah, to commemorate those who used to go out on Yom Kippur. Remember the dances on Yom Kippur in order to find a mate? So there, they used to go, what? Yeah. So there they used to go with their heads uncovered in order to attract somebody, right? So therefore, zeicher to that, when they get married, they go with their heads uncovered. Okay? Now, the next two lines should be reversed. The second line should be before the first line. Therefore, I'm going to start from the beginning of the second line coming. The chash lomar shem b'sula min asuinu. I understand. Maybe we're talking about a woman here in our Mishnah. Maybe they remember that she went out with her head was uncovered, or she went out with a veil, or she went out. What was the other case? They gave out the candies, right? because that was the third time Mishnah. Chash Lomar, you missed that one. Maybe they're giving out candies. But Chash Lomar Shem B'Sula Mina Suinu. But maybe still it was only $100, even though she was a B'Sula, because maybe she was a B'Sula after a full marriage. They damn me eat him so Shalonivla, and the witnesses testify she didn't have relations. When they're less, it was only $100, right? So it says more, Vatomere Zosameres must tell us, B'Sula Mina Suin, if a woman is a B'Sula, is even a B'Sula, but if it's Mina Nisuin, anyway, it's a Rosh Parua, she doesn't go out with her head uncovered. That must be. V'chash Lomar, what about Shema Mukaseitzi? Maybe the reason why she's going out with that uncovered is indeed because she is a psula, but she's a mukaseit. She got hit by a piece of wood in that place, and therefore she still shouldn't get 200. She'll get 100. Our Mishnah says more an answer. Well, our Mishnah is going like Kramer. Remember, ukaseit ksuvas masayim. That her ksuvas also gets $200, and that's why they didn't join distinctions in the wedding ceremonies between a mukaseit and a regular woman. But Yochanan said a different answer. It's like in Ikotam, right? It says the reason why they didn't make such a gzeira is because lo chashu al davar she'eino matui. They didn't make a gzeira of something which is highly imprevalent, right? That a woman should be a mukaseit and be able to, and the discussion should surround that. It's imprevalent. Therefore, Chazal did not make such a takana that she should not go out with her head uncovered. I guess whatever. Let it go to the whole shebang and assume that it's not going to assume, since Mukaseh is so rare, then assume it's not going to cause us problems later on. So to be about candies, it's approved. The Chash Lomar, what about, again, Shem B'Sula Mina Suini? Maybe she's a B'Sula coming out of marriage, and therefore B'Sula is still only $100. So this marriage teaches us B'Sula Mina Suin, Ein La Chiluk Kulayos. Teaches us a woman who is B'Sula from Nisuin. Taka, they don't give out these candies. Tani Abashol Mer Abashol said, Ab Mishalichu Chulufanel Chavisha B'Sura. So if they bought in front of her a jug full of truma. So that's also a sign that she's a B'Sula, because we want to say she's a first fruit, like the truma is a first fruit. Maybe she's psula mina nisuin, therefore psula should only be $100. Again, says the one who's just a marriage to teach us psula mina nisuin, that if a woman gets divorced out of wedlock and then gets remarried again, if she's a psula, she doesn't get this jug of what I said was in this jug of truma, because she's still not considered to be the first fruit. Okay, says Mishnah further. Halacha base. My Rabbi Shua concedes. A person says to his friend, this field belonged to your father. And I bought it from him. Naman. It's believed to have been what he said. Why is that? Very famous halacha principle. The mouth which forbade is the mouth which permitted. In other words, as far as the other guy's concerned, I come to you and say, this field is once your father's, but my father bought it from your father. You had no idea it was your field, right? You don't know it's my field, your field based on my say-so. Well, I also said that my father bought it. So the mouth which forbade it also gives the leniency and lets it back in, right? Of course, it's only if I only know anything I know based on what you said. However, what about Imyesh Edom Shushalaviv? Right? What about if the other guy witnesses and wants to look to his father? So, and then he says, I bought it from him. Edom Naman is not believed in that case. Now, it says more an obvious distinction, obviously. Well, not yet. Sorry. One more line. Sorry. Moed Rabbi Shua says more. Well, it says in our mission that Rabbi Shua concedes. V'ayin polik. Where did Rabbi Shua argue that he has to concede here? It says in our B'kames in the first parak. Remember, it says first parak that Rabbi Shua said a couple of times, we don't believe her. Lo mi pi anuchai. We don't believe when she said who the man with whom she had relations, extramarital relations was. We don't believe her about that. So he argues over there. Here he concedes, because there we know she had relations because we saw her mitaberes, or we know she's pregnant because we see her muberes. So therefore it's not a pesha, it's a pesha, right? we know from independent sources that there was something going on here. But here we don't know from any independent sources, so we believe what she said. She answers it and she's matir it. Okay? Says the Gemara, quote from the Mishnah, Eino Neman is not believed. That's only if he didn't eat the amount of years which it takes to establish a chazaka. If you ate the amount of years which takes to establish a chazaka, which is how many years? 3. So Neman is believed to say that it's his, even if he doesn't have a pesha or pesha either. Okay, and this is Al Beis, of course. And now here comes the issue which is a tad controversial, very tadish. Says the Gemara, B'shalom meis avim mitocha. It's like his father didn't die in the field. Avli meis, he told his father that was in the field. Then afilu, it should be afilu, take out the word lo, and put it, take it out. Afilu achla shnei chazaka, it should be eino neman, he's not believed. So double change there. Take out the lo and read before achla and put in eino before neman. Now the way the Mepharshim explain this is twofold. What are we trying to prove here?
He died in the field. That means it was his field.
What?
The guy died.
Well, he's not believed though.
I thought it's the first man, the original owner.
Whose father died?
The first.
That's the machlokas.
That's it.
Whose father died. So the one shot which most of the Mepharshim give is that the first guy's father died, and then he's a cotton, and even the other guy established a cotton. He established chazaka, but since the original owner was an orphan, since the original owner had died and he left an orphan, so he can't make chazaka in the property of an orphan, even if he holds on for 3 years, because he doesn't know anything about it. He thinks maybe Utaka bought it, so therefore 3 years is not sufficient to make a chazaka the property of an orphan. Okay, that's one shot here. So that means as long as his father died shortly before the chazaka was established, so then he can't establish chazaka, right? So as the father of the person who now comes to make the claim died just before the person who's now sitting on the field and claiming that it's his began his process of occupation. So as long as I lost my train of thought.
Basically can't make a chazak against Yosem.
Yosem, that's where it is. Right. Reuven owned the field originally, right? Reuven died. He left the Yosem, Shimon, right? In the meantime, Levi started making chazaka when Shimon came into the field, right? Came into his inheritance. Levi's chazaka is not valid. Chazaka was there for 3 years. Why? Because Shimon's a cotton, and Amach Sivin is a cotton because he doesn't know to complain.
Isn't there an apotropos?
Maybe not, but that's not the more necessary. That's one shot. The other shot is a shot that Baz gives. It's that we're talking about a case here where your father started to establish chazaka, and he established chazaka over the course of 2 years at 364 days. At the end of 2 years and 364 days, he dropped dead. You want to establish chazaka complete the chazaka by being there one more day. Can't do it. It doesn't join together. You have to be, each one of you has to be there. Either one of you has to be there the full time. So therefore, it's not considered to be a proper chazaka, and that's the case. Meisavim Yisocha here is going not on the person against whom we're establishing chazaka, but a person who's establishing the chazaka. He has to be there for a full 3 years. Okay, so that's what it says here. Avli Meis Aviv Mitocha, his father died from within it. Whose father we don't know. So then Afilu, even if Achla Shnei Chazaka, even if the guy ate Shnei Chazaka, the Eino Nema is not believed. And the proof here can be taken according to either shot. Like this case, Reuven's eating a field based on the assumption that it's his. And Shimon brings witnesses that his father died from within it, which we're going to stand now like the first shot, which means that Shimon brought witnesses that his father had died and left him a young man, and that he wasn't able to get his active to make a protestation, right? Mafkilam Reuven, you take it away from Reuven, and you give it back to Shimon. Now, Chazar Reuven, what if Reuven went and baby ate and brought witnesses? Shalom there was all a lie. His father never died. Whose father again is an issue, but that never occurred. So Nachman said, "Oh, no, Reuven, I took it away from Reuven when I thought Reuven was no chazaka on a machzil Reuven. Now that I think Reuven does have a proper chazaka, I give it back to Reuven." Rabbanan the Savas Lacha, Rabbanan Eretz Yisrael Savin Kain. That's how they hold, like Rav Nachman Bar Yaakov. However, Rabbanan Talmud, Rabbanan Eretz in Bavel. They said, no, we only listen to one episode of witnesses. Mishash Yotza Edus Blua Yotza. Once we took it away from Reuven because Shimon brought Edom that whoever's father we're talking about died, right? So then we take it away from Reuven and give it to Shimon. From here on in we say Hamotziv Chaver Lava Raya. From here on in you need rayas. So only get one transfer without rayas. The next transfer back again needs better rayas. Okay? Is that clear? So why is that? The reason is because we don't want to make a joke out of based in. Can't keep transferring back and forth. The second transfer needs definite testimony. Okay? Says the more skimming the branches. Rabbi Yosef said, "Mud Rabbanan Tamon, Rabbanan in Bavel admit, Shilu Mishavi Shadish Naimi Meis Avim Mitocha." If at the beginning two people said her father died within it, right? Vishnayim Ramim Lo Meis, and two people said her father did not die. So there Mitocha from within it. Shasad V'Cheskas Ruven, that this field remains in two Cheskas Ruven. The two sets of witnesses came simultaneously. Not one after the other. We had a machlokus where two sets of witnesses came. One set of witnesses came and said it's not Reuven's, and the other set of witnesses came and said it is Reuven's. So according to Rabbanan Eretz Yisrael, we give it back to Reuven based on the second testimony. According to the base in Bavel, no, you only accept the first testimony and the second testimony. Tough luck, we don't take that into account, right? However, here we say that if from the beginning of the process, the two people the two sets of witnesses came together simultaneously. So then we all agree that we don't take it away from Reuven where it is now. They both cancel each other out, and we leave it in the jurisdiction of Reuven. Is that clear?
What's the last statement?
They cancel each other out. The two came simultaneously.
Oh,
the two ain't pro. Basically, I could reduce it much simpler. The two ain't pro, two ain't con, right? The two ain't pro came first. No, it's the opposite. Two ain't con came first, right? Con Reuven, meaning against Reuven, right? Two ain't con Reuven came first, right? And then two ain't pro Reuven came second. So Machlokas in Eretz Yisrael they would give it back to Reuven, right? In Bavel they would keep it. Bavel they would keep it in Shimon's hands. Because we don't go back and forth. It makes too much of a joke of the process. So here's what I'm saying, that that's only where first one set came, the con, and then the pro came. But if the pro and con came together, then everybody agrees to leave it in the hands of Reuven, period. Okay? Right. Rabbi Yochanan said, V'tani Kain. We learned a similar case, not similar in Mace. Tani Kain, last line, Sharmim Mace. Two people say the husband died. Sharmim Lo Mace, and two people say the husband didn't die, right? So, Lotina say she shouldn't get married because it's 2 on 2. Bimni says, Lotina say if she got married, she shouldn't get divorced. Shtaim this guy, two people say she got divorced. Shtaim Lo this guy, two say she didn't get divorced. Lotina says she should not get remarried. Bimni says, if she does get remarried, Tate says she got to get divorced. That was the halachas as learned in Eretz Yisrael. Tam and me in Bavel they said lo shanya yimisai gerushin. There's no difference between death and divorce. Lo tina say in both cases when it's 2 on 2 she should not get married. And he says if she did get married, lo tate say she should not get divorced again. Now, Daitin the Rabbanan Tamon Nicha. When the rabbis above it's consistent. Imi so he gerushin. They're both similar. Now, Daitin the Rabbanan according to the rabbis said so ma ben miso ma ben gerushin. What's the distinction between death and divorce? In that by death we say b'diavad she can remain married, but divorce you say b'diavad she's got to get now divorced from her second husband, or leave him. What's the difference? So it says, I'll tell you. Good question. Rabbi Zira Amar Lo Stam. Rabbi Zira said the answer generically. Chisam named Rabbi Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Hadas machras eidei mitzvah. Logic dictates to listen more to the witnesses who talk about death. Why sheilu yavahu? If the guy walks in alive, machish, it undermines the witnesses altogether. So therefore, they're going to be more meticulous telling the truth as opposed to where they say that he divorced her. Because even if he comes, they could say, "Well, you don't remember." So they can deny, they can obfuscate and contradict. So that's the difference. The difference is whether there's a possibility by Misa that by Misa, if the guy actually comes, they're going to be undone completely. So therefore, we give them credibility because Mr. they wouldn't lie. Suppose the case, even if they came, if the witnesses came, he could he could say, "I didn't mean they got literally divorced," whatever he would say. So therefore, we don't necessarily believe. So it says the Gemara. Amrei Chisri said Rabbanan Tamon Kedaitan. Rabbanan in Eretz in Bavel were consistent. How so? K'madur the Rabbanan Tamon Armin, just like the rabbis over there say, and actually this is in our halacha over here. Mishah shiyatza beidus bruyatza. The one she went out as in the legitimate testimony, that suffices, right? As long as there is Eidus Brura, that suffices to tell her she's a Basula. So too Kena Bonin, it should be the Tamon. The rabbis in Bavel say, Hacha Amin, here they say, Rishah Shani says, once she got married, Eidus Brura, and he says she got married with clear testimony. In other words, when one set of witnesses come and says she's okay, even then later on another set of witnesses are going to come and she's not okay, so you go after the first set of witnesses, right?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah, first it's okay.
One said she's okay.
Yeah.
One said she's not okay, right? But the first set of witnesses obviously gave her a special dispensation. They said she's okay, she can get remarried, right? So her husband died. So just like over there they say she can get remarried because her husband died. So to over here, the rabbis in our case say that if
And she can remain married.
No. Our case is the case of Basra. Maybe I misspoke before. Just like the rabbis in Bavel are consistent between Even Ezer and Chesed Mishpat. Just like by Even Ezer, if she got remarried, even if witnesses came later on and said she shouldn't have gotten remarried, we leave her married, right? Even two came and said she can get married. She got married. Then two came and said she shouldn't get remarried, should not have gotten remarried, we don't make her get divorced, right? That's like over here. Just like if Reuven came and said, Reuven brought witnesses that it was his, right? Right? And then Shimon brought witnesses that it was his, right? We don't give it back to Reuven. Because that was he said in Ramanal. Those rabbis of Tamon. The rabbi.
The order would have been reversed.
What?
The order that you mentioned would have been reversed. It would have been that Shimon first came witnesses, and then Reuven came with witnesses.
Right, the order would have been reversed.
Right.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
But that's not relevant. I mean, it is relevant.
Yes, it is, no?
It is relevant. But the idea is that we give it to the first bona fide witnesses we get
Right.
are the ones we rely on.
Right.
And that's why Nisei Slotetse, she got married, she doesn't have to get divorced. Remarried, she doesn't get divorced. And also, we gave the plot of land in the Choshen Mishpat issue to wherever we gave it to, and he had legitimate witnesses, we leave it there, wherever we gave it. Okay? So that's consistent across the board. Okay, Eshkoyach. So it says the Gemara, so to over here, it's the same thing, right? Again, Rabbi Chizki, Rabbanan Tamar Gedaiton, Gemara Rabbanan Tamar Armin, just like the same Mishor, Yotzos, Beidus Brua Yotzos, when the land left the guy, left him with proper testimony. So to Rabbanan, the Tamon, Hacha Armin, so to rabbis will say, Vishnisis, when she gets married, Beidus Brua Nisis. Rabbi Yisrael said, Lo mistabro da elo. No, doesn't make sense for the opposite. It's a contradiction to rabbis. of Bavel. Lomo Rabbana Tamah, the rabbis concede, Shilu Mishari Shaina, if from the first moment, Shnaim or me, Mesa me, Mitocha, two people say the guy's father died, and this is getting back to the field, right? Shamin Lo Mesa Mitocha, the guy's father didn't die. Shasada Becheskas Ruvain, that will remains in the Chazaka of Ruvain, right? Here too, we Shnaim is Garsha, Shnaim Lon is Garsha, if you have two people say she got divorced, and two people say later on she didn't get divorced. Lotate say, right? She shouldn't have to get divorced, and we see she does have divorce, right? I'm not sure where to put the word Yahus though. Oh, I see. Okay, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake, but I read it with the wrong inflection. It should be going back 2-3 lines. This is the way it should be read. The proper inflection. Lomo Rabbanan Tamon. Don't they agree? Shilu Mishari Shana Shnaim Omri Meis Avim Mitocha. Two people say the father died. Shnaim Lo Meis and the father. Two people say the father didn't die. Lo Meis Mitocha. Shasar Becheskas Ruvain. The sort of remains in Ruvain's Chazaka. Ilu Shnaim Omrim Nis Garsha. Because so too if two say she got divorced. When he says, and then she got remarried. And the others say also she shouldn't get. The other two come and say she didn't get divorced. Lotate say, had you said she shouldn't get divorced, Yos, that would have been good. But you didn't say that. You said she should get divorced. So it's a contradiction. Because over there, by us, you said once Adam came to give Reuven the upper hand, so leave it by Reuven, right? And over there you said once Adam come that she wasn't, first Adam came she was divorced, and Adam came she wasn't divorced, so you don't give her the upper hand. Right? It says there, Teitze, it doesn't say Lo Teitze. So we gave an answer before, right? We wanted to say, well, this guy, sure, they can contradict the husband even if he comes back. But the bottom line is, he says it seems to be a contradiction in what they hold. Mastisa Pliga Rabbi Yochanan. Right? Our Mishnah argues Rabbi Yochanan, or this Mishnah argues Rabbi Yochanan. The following one we bring down. Shnaim Iskacha, two people say she was married. Shnaim Iskacha, two people say she wasn't married. Lodina say she shouldn't get remarried. Vini says what they say. If she got married, she shouldn't get divorced. So it's a kasha. Because Rabbi Yochanan said previously that we're talking about an issue of divorce, which we assume the issue is here as well. So then she should get divorced. Here he's saying they don't have to get divorced, right? So it says in Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan said, Patla Rabbi Yochanan explains that that's not the way to learn this Mishnah, or this Brisa. The way to learn this Brisa is by amending it. How do we amend it? Two people say this woman was married and then divorced. She was married and divorced. Which time means two people say, Loni's Gasha, she wasn't divorced. But they don't know that she was ever married either. That's the chap. Lotina is saying that Kisha shouldn't get married, and he says, they say, even Rabbi Yochanan agrees. That Kisha shouldn't get married, but if she gets married, she doesn't get divorced. Marvin El Kametsu between the first case where two people say she's divorced and two people say she didn't get divorced. I'll tell you. Talmud, in the first case, we're talking about Husuka Eishes Ish B'Fnei. Everybody knows that she's a married woman, right? And so therefore, two people say she's divorced, two people say she's not divorced. She should get remarried. If she gets married, she has to get divorced again. Here, not everybody knows that she's an Eishes Ish. Only there's two people who claim they know she's an Eishes Ish. The other two say she was never divorced, but they don't know she's an Eishes Ish either, right? Because they never know she ever got married. So, because when those two people come, and they'll say that this guy in fact married her. In other words, the two say he wasn't divorced. It's up to them to say, yes, she was talking married and not divorced afterwards. But they don't know that, and they can't say that, and therefore we let her remain married after she got remarried. So again, the Machlokas Rabbanan Taman and Machlokas Tohacha. Rabbanan Eretz Yisrael said that both in the case of death and a post of divorce, you should not get remarried. If she got remarried, she must get divorced. The Rabbanan and Chutzlaritz made a distinction. They said by Misa, she should not get remarried. If she got remarried, she can stay married. Why? What's the difference? Because they said, Eidi Misa make more sure before they make a statement as opposed to Eidi Gerushin. Alright, the more asked the Kasha, what about this case over here where you have two people say she was married and divorced, and two people say she's married and not divorced, and there we say that B'diavad she can't stay married. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, it's not the way to read the case. The case is where two people say she was married and divorced, and two people say she was never divorced, but we don't know if she was married or not. In that case, since we don't assume she was married because only two people say she was married, so therefore, if she does get remarried, we say, well, the people who say she was married say she was divorced. People said she was never divorced, they don't know that she was ever married. So therefore, she can remain with the second husband to whom she's remarried. And we'll stop here for this evening.